Would you want Joe Biden to speak during your graduation? I wouldn't. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Joe Biden giving the commencement speech at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Yes, Howard, which is a black college, an historically black college, been around for a very long time. And yes, that same Joe Biden who says, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. The same Joe Biden who says, poor kids are just as smart as white kids. That very same guy. The same guy who's flooding the border with a bunch of illegal aliens who will come into a lot of low-income black areas and deny black folks their jobs. That same Joe Biden is speaking at Howard University for the commencement speech. And not only did he speak, he received an honorary doctorate. That's him right there, cheesing with all the administration and whatnot around him, showing off the honorary doctorate right in front of the cameras. Pretty embarrassing if you ask me. But before I go any further, let's go ahead and roll the clip from MS-13DNC. If you want to see it in full, I'll link to it in the box. I will also link to the entire commencement speech in the box. If you want to suffer through that, go ahead and go for it. If you're on IG, link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Just minutes ago, President Biden wrapping up a strong message about the state of the country. This during his commencement speech at Howard University. Let's go to NBC's Ali Rafa, who's in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where the president will be landing in just a few hours. Ali, welcome. What are we hearing from the president today?
Yeah, Alex, this commencement speech was especially special for the president because Howard University, of course, is his vice president's alma mater. So he praised
I forgot about that. Yeah, Kamala Harris did go to Howard. Very interesting. Although she grew up in Canada for the most part, in California, and then came to the East Coast to be in D.C., where she is right now. But we'll move on from that.
President Kamala Harris, he talked about the importance of HBCUs throughout the country, and he echoed that familiar line that we first heard from him in his State of the Union speech, that line, let's finish the job, sort of teasing what his agenda would look like if he is reelected to office in 2024. Listen.
Because let's not forget, he is trying to become the president again in 2024, although he is, at least 80 years old? He might be 81 at this point. He's over 80 years old right now. So in 2024, he'd be well into his 80s. At the end of his second term, if he was to be reelected, God forbid, he'd be 80, if I'm not mistaken, 86 years old. Very old.
Here.
To put democracy on the ballot, to reject political extremism and reject political violence, protect fundamental rights and freedom for women to choose, for transgender children to be free.
So, black folks, listen to me. Hear me very well. Is this what you want to hear at a commencement speech, talking about transgender children? Like, let's put all the politics aside. Let's put all the BS aside. You might not like me. You may love Barack Obama, worship the ground he walks on. Okay, that's great. I'm not even really tripping. I'm not trying to hate. Don't take it that way. But just hear what he said. Transgender children. Is that what we represent? Is that what we're going to say makes sense? In a place of higher education especially, we're going to act like biology doesn't exist. Like, what is going on? And to the men, are we men or are we mice? Are we going to say that's okay for him to get up there and say something like that? It's crazy.
For affordable health care.
And they're cheering, What are you going to do with that?
And housing. To stand against books being banned and black history being erased.
See, this right here, I get a lot of questions about stuff like this because the mainstream media will put out lies, and his administration, the Biden administration will back up the lie, talking about books getting banned. Well, maybe there shouldn't be pornographic books in a child's library. You know, if the kid's in second grade, maybe there shouldn't be a porno book on the shelves of the library for a second grader to be able to pick up and read and then see the pictures of the pornographic activity. Just maybe, I'm saying that might be a little bit inappropriate. And as far as black history, he's speaking about Ron DeSantis in Florida trying to eliminate all the LGBTQ element of P indoctrination that they have injected into AP black history courses. Okay, we could learn about black history without it having to be this whole thing about gender and LGBT and trans and everything else. What does that have to do with black history? Not a thing. Let's keep on going.
I'm serious. Think about it. To stand up for the best in us. And today I come here to Howard to continue the work to redeem the soul of this nation.
Well, boy.
Alex, this speech today, this public speech coming as we know that there are critical talks happening behind the scenes between White House and Capitol Hill staffers amid this looming debt ceiling crisis. We know that they are meeting.
almost forgot about a debt ceiling and all that good stuff. I mean, they always do a lot of hustling and bustling about that every single time. You know, that's always a big thing, but I almost forgot about that.
Behind the scenes this weekend, ironing out the details of this deal that's being hoped for ahead of this meeting that it has been postponed and rescheduled to possibly Monday or Tuesday after it was supposed to happen yesterday between the president and top congressional leaders. Remember, the president insisting on a clean, no strings attached debt ceiling raise while Republicans are demanding those budget cuts in exchange for doing that. So the big question now remains, what sort of common ground can these two parties come to ahead of this meeting coming next week?
Did you see that? Wait a minute. You see that debt right there? I almost let that pass me by because the main thing was about the Biden commencement speech at Howard. $15 trillion in debt in 2011 versus $31 trillion in 2023. That's crazy.
Ahead of this meeting, for the first time in history. So
they're getting more into the debt limit and whatnot. They're not really talking about the commencement, but that was some of it right here. Here's a piece where he's talking about white supremacy. Okay, let's hear this.
To stand up against the poison of white supremacy, as I did my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
Is that the most dangerous terror threat, white supremacy? How about those wide open borders when you letting all type of criminals from all over the world, not just Mexicans or those from Central America, Latin America, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, not just them. I'm talking about from all over the world, from every corner of the earth, Africa, Europe, Asia, everywhere. Yeah, white Canadians coming through the southern border because it's easier to get through that way than it is the northern border. So maybe that is a bigger issue. Fentanyl, maybe that might be a bigger issue than white supremacy. I'm not really sure how many people white supremacy has killed, but I know how many fentanyl have killed. I know how many of these gangbangers from across the border, illegal aliens. One guy deleted an entire family recently, 5 or 6 people all in one house, illegal alien. I know about that. Let's talk about the real things that matter, Joe. Okay, let's not have that happen.
And I'm not saying this because I'm at a black HBCU.
Are there white HBCUs? Well, actually, they are. That was pretty good. There are a couple of HBCUs that are white, but when talking about HBCUs, typically talking about an all-black school. That's generally the premise.
I say it wherever I go.
Sure.
So stand up.
Okay, so that's that. Now, there was another clip that was pretty interesting. I mean, we could get into the whole thing about, vote for me, you're not black. Matter of fact, I'm going to play a tad bit of this. Just 1 second.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream.
So he's talking about Barack Obama right here. He says you get the first sort of mainstream
African American who is articulate and bright and clean, nice looking guy.
Biden recalling his early Senate.
So there's more. Going back to always to 1973 when he first came into office in Delaware. 50 years in office. What has he done? Not much except for enrich himself and his crackhead son, but I digress. Here's the last thing I want to play. It's Biden at the commencement, and he's not able to really sit still.
Growing up, I had the privilege of living overseas and experiencing many different cultures and experiences. And while I forever cherish those experiences,
what is he doing right here?
It was not always easy to navigate relationships and find my place. However, once I walked through the doors of Chauncey I. Cooper Hall and saw all the other students with the same desire to excel, I knew I was on the right path. I knew I'd found my place.
I'm not sure what he's doing. He's about to it won't get inappropriate, I don't think, but I'm not really sure what's happening right here.
The Howard allowed me to find me. I found my voice and my passion. I appreciate Howard because it has always celebrated and embraced the idea of differences. Differences are valued and respected, and our shared desire to learn.
Okay. So yeah, I don't really know what was going on there at the very end. I don't really know what was happening, but that is what's going on with your man Joe Biden at the Howard commencement. To anybody that may have gone to an HBCU, maybe you went to Howard, maybe you went to the other HU or the real HU, whatever you want to say, Hampton. To anybody that has any kind of familiarity with these schools, how do you feel about this guy, Joe Biden, being there? You know, I'm from Virginia, obviously, so I've been around HBCUs a lot, Norfolk State, Hampton, all of that, Howard even. It's pretty embarrassing to me. I didn't even go to HBCU. It's really embarrassing. And I know it's embarrassing for a lot of you guys as well. And I can imagine being in that crowd. A lot of people, they kind of brainwash. They kind of think that he's a good guy. He's going to have their best interests at heart. But I can't tell. Look at the state of the country talking about finish the job. What have you started? What have you actually succeeded in even beginning? Not really much aside from just being a placeholder, an empty suit, just there to be a puppet for the deep state swamp as it is. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about Joe Biden going to the commencement, giving the speech? Did you hear the full thing? Was it a riveting speech? Did you really feel empowered afterward? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. It's pretty embarrassing having that guy be out there giving an honorary doctorate, considering all of what he said. This is why when people talking about the Republican Party, you guys have an issue with messaging and you suck with outreach. I'm not trying to hear it, because Democrats, they'll say anything that they want to say. They'll call you all type of names. Poor kids, smart as white kids, just saying that everybody poor is black. I know about roaches and I got hair on my legs, and he got business deals with his son, crackhead son, getting money from China. He does whatever he wants, and it's totally fine because he's a Democrat, got the D beside his name. He could do no wrong. But then if you're on the other side, you got to be perfect. You got to have special outreach. And then it's all for naught. Trump did a bunch of outreach to the black community, to some other kind of minorities for not really much gain. So at a certain point, we can't look to people to try and reach out to us. We got to change within the inside. If we don't change on the inside, nothing that anybody does to try to outreach to us is going to make a difference, because we've not changed the fundamental problems we have in the community, the structural issues in the community, okay? The lack of fathers, the matriarchy that exists right now in the community, rather than any kind of male leadership. We got to fix those fundamental structural problems before we could talk about anybody on the outside trying to do anything, quote unquote, for us. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.